My sister's voice cut through the phone, sharp enough to make me flinch. "It's only for family, Wendy." I froze, my stomach twisting. I'm Wendy Cole, 30, a photographer in Eugene, Oregon, and I had just learned I wasn't invited to my parents' 30th anniversary party in Portland. Her words hit like a slap. Family, wasn't I family? I'd spent years supporting them, pouring my heart and my savings into their lives, only to be shut out of a day meant to celebrate love and unity. But this wasn't just about a party. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than I ever expected. I hung up with my hands shaking, not from tears, but from a fire I hadn't felt in a long time. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at their table. Instead, I made a choice, one that would flip their perfect celebration upside down. A single post from a city across the ocean would unravel their carefully crafted lies, sending them scrambling to call me with voices thick with regret. But when they finally did, my response was colder than anything they imagined. What happened next? Let's just say my decision to walk away changed everything for me, and for them forever. Stick around to hear how one trip and one moment of truth turned my world, and theirs in ways none of us saw coming. It was Thursday afternoon. I was editing photos from a shoot when my sister, Cheryl Morgan, called. Her voice, polished from years on the Portland stage, carried that commanding tone she used when she wanted something. "Wendy, the anniversary party's this weekend," she said, referring to our parents' 30th celebration. "It's just for family." Mom's swamped with planning. She couldn't call herself. I gripped the phone, stunned. Just for family. I'd spent years holding this family together, and now I was being brushed off like an afterthought. Cheryl, 33, has always been the star of our family. A theater actress, she commanded attention with every performance, her name glowing on marquees. Our parents, especially my mom, Donna Foster, treated her like royalty. Growing up in Eugene, I watched them bend their schedules around her rehearsals, her auditions, her opening nights. My photography gigs? They were nice, but never worth a family dinner. My dad, Wesley Harris, once called my gallery show a side project, even though it sold out. Cheryl's world was the center stage. I was just the crew, but I did more than cheer from the sidelines. 2 summers ago, I sent $15,000 to repair our parents' crumbling roof and sagging porch. Mom had said, "You're so good to us, Wendy," but it sounded more like an expectation than gratitude. And then there was my brother, Zachary Lane, 32, a lawyer in New York. I covered $10,000 of his law school loans when he was scrambling as a junior associate. His response? A quick "thanks, sis" text. No mention of paying me back. It was simply what I did, keeping the family afloat. The demands never eased. Last month, Mom texted asking for $2,000 to spruce up the anniversary party. I was stretched thin, but I sent it, thinking it was for something small. Then Cheryl called with that syrupy tone. "Wendy, could you cover airfare for Aunt Linda from California? It's only $1,200. I balked. Aunt Linda wasn't exactly close family. "I can't," I said. Cheryl's reply was sharp. "Wow. Wendy, way to let us down." Guilt nipped at me, but I held firm. The requests kept piling on. A week later, Mom asked for another $500 for extra catering. I sent it, though my savings were sinking fast. Cheryl followed up, insisting I pay another $1,000 for a band. "It's for Mom and Dad," she said, like I hadn't already given enough. I refused, and her silence afterwards said everything. They didn't see my contributions as generosity. They saw them as my duty. That Thursday call from Cheryl wasn't just about the party. It was the weight of years of being taken for granted. I'd driven Dad to appointments when his car broke down, stayed up late editing photos to meet deadlines while juggling their constant requests. Yet Cheryl's career was always the family's obsession, her reviews clipped and framed, her shows attended by everyone but me. My work barely earned a footnote. "You're so busy, Wendy," Mom would say, brushing off my life like it was an inconvenience. Cheryl's excuse about Mom being too busy to call felt flimsy. The party was in Portland, a 2-hour drive from Eugene. I'd made that trip countless times for their last-minute needs, Picking up Cheryl's costumes, helping Mom with errands. Too busy?
No.
They just didn't want me there. I stared at my computer screen, the photos I was editing turning blurry. Anger pushed aside the guilt I'd been carrying for saying no. I'd given so much, but somehow I wasn't worth a seat at their table. I thought about calling Mom to ask why, but I already knew how she'd respond. Don't overreact, Wendy. Cheryl would smooth it over with her actress charm, and Zachary would back them up, preaching family unity from his fancy office. I wasn't ready to confront them, but I wasn't going to stay silent either. Something had to change. Friday evening, my cousin Faye Brooks called, her voice tight with rage. Wendy, you won't believe what I just heard. She spat, her words trembling. Faye, 32, works as an accountant in Portland and has a talent for uncovering details most people overlook. She'd been helping with last-minute errands for my parents' 30th anniversary party when she stumbled onto the truth. They're planning a huge event, she said. 50 guests, a live jazz band, an entire upscale restaurant booked out in downtown Portland. My breath caught. 50 guests. A jazz band. This was nothing like the small family gathering Cheryl had described. Faye continued, her words tumbling out. She'd seen the guest list. Neighbors, church friends, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. The restaurant, a swanky spot with chandeliers and a private balcony, had been reserved months earlier. They're spending thousands, Faye said. And your name isn't anywhere on the invite list. I gripped my desk, my knuckles whitening. I'd sent money for this party, believing it was a modest celebration. Now it felt like a calculated exclusion, a slap in the face. After everything I'd poured into this family, I thanked Faye and hung up, my mind spinning. I dialed Cheryl's number, my heart pounding in my ears. When she answered, her tone was light, airy, as if nothing was amiss. Hey, Wendy, what's up? She chirped, actress charm turned to full brightness. I didn't waste a second. Cheryl, Faye told me about the party. 50 guests. A jazz band. Why did you lie about it being just family? Silence crackled across the line. Then her voice sharpened. Oh, Wendy, don't be so dramatic. It's a special day for Mom and Dad. You're too independent. Always off doing your own thing. You wouldn't fit the vibe. The words hit like a punch. Too independent. I'd spent my life bending to their needs, driving across Oregon for their errands, losing sleep to finish my own work while taking on theirs. Fit the vibe? I fired back. I sent thousands for that party, Cheryl. I deserve to be there. She laughed, a short, cutting sound. You're making this about you, as usual. Just let Mom and Dad have their moment. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the urge to scream. You told me it was only family, I said, my voice low. Was that a lie, too? Cheryl sighed like she was dealing with a child throwing a tantrum. Look, we didn't want to stress you out. You're always so busy. There it was again, the same excuse, but now it twisted like a knife.
Busy.
I'd carved time out for them my entire life. I ended the call, my hands trembling, not from sadness, but from pure, blistering rage. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They had planned an elaborate event, used my money, and knowingly left me out. Cheryl's words echoed in my skull. You wouldn't fit the vibe. This wasn't just about the party. It was about them seeing me as an outsider, someone who didn't belong in their perfect family portrait. I paced my apartment, the weight of their betrayal settling over me like a heavy coat. My parents had let Cheryl take over, and she'd spun this lie to push me away. Even my brother Zachary said nothing, probably nodding along with whatever Cheryl dictated. I considered calling Mom to hear her version, but what would she say? Don't overreact, Wendy. Her favorite line. No, this wasn't about their explanations anymore. It was about what I chose to do next. I'd spent years proving myself to them through money, time, and constant sacrifices, only to be dismissed as too independent. But that independence was my strength, not a weakness. I wasn't going to chase their approval or beg for a seat at their table. I would show them exactly who I was. Saturday morning, I called Heidi, my best friend, who works in travel. After yesterday's call with Cheryl, I was finished letting my family define my worth. Heidi picked up on the second ring, her voice bright and steady. "Wendy, what's the plan?" she asked, instantly sensing the urgency in mine. I didn't hesitate. "I need to get away," I said. "Somewhere big, somewhere for me.
Paris, maybe."
Heidi laughed, not mocking but excited. "Paris it is. Let's make it unforgettable." Within an hour, she worked her magic. She booked me a first-class ticket to Paris, departing Sunday morning from Portland International. "You deserve this," she said while confirming a stay at a boutique hotel in Le Marais with cozy rooms and a rooftop terrace. She even arranged a private Eiffel Tower tour and a slow morning in a cafe along the Seine. "Go all out," she urged. "This is your moment." For the first time in years, I felt a spark, not anger, but anticipation. I wasn't planning around anyone else now. I spent the rest of Saturday packing, choosing my camera lenses carefully. Photography had always been my escape, my way of seeing the world on my terms. This trip wasn't just a getaway, it was a reclaiming of my life. I'd spent years putting my family first, sacrificing time, money, and energy. Now I was choosing myself, and Paris was the perfect stage. Sunday morning, I boarded the flight, my heart growing lighter with every passing mile. Landing in Paris felt like stepping into a new skin. The city buzzed with possibility, and I was ready to capture every bit of it. That afternoon, I stood at the base of the Eiffel Tower, its iron lattice gleaming under a clear sky. I snapped photos, adjusting my aperture to catch the light just right. At a riverside cafe the next morning, I photographed my coffee cup against the sweep of passing boats, steam curling into the crisp air. Each shot felt like a declaration. I was here, living for me. That evening, I posted the photos on social media, a simple carousel of the Eiffel Tower's elegance and the cafe's quiet charm. The caption was brief: "Chasing joy in Paris." No mention of my family, no hint of the pain they'd caused. I didn't need to expose their betrayal to feel free. The post was about my happiness, my choice to embrace life, without their approval. I hit share and set my phone aside, savoring a glass of wine as the city lights glittered beyond my hotel window. By Monday morning, the post had exploded. Hundreds of likes, comments, shares, friends, clients, even strangers chimed in. "Wendy, you're living the dream," one wrote. "Paris looks amazing," said another. I smiled as I scrolled through the wave of support. For years, I'd felt invisible, my work overshadowed by my sister's spotlight. Now people were seeing me not as a daughter or a sister, but as a woman carving her own path. The validation wasn't the point. It was the realization that I didn't need my family to feel whole. I thought about the sacrifices I'd made, the hours spent on their demands, the energy drained by their expectations. Paris was my rebellion, my way of saying I was enough. I wandered the cobblestone streets of Le Marais, camera in hand, capturing moments that belonged only to me. A street musician's melody, a couple laughing over croissants. Each frame reminded me of the life I could build without their weight pressing on me. Heidi texted that evening, "Your post is going viral, girl.
Keep shining."
I laughed, feeling a warmth I didn't expect. This trip wasn't about proving anything to my family. It was about proving something to myself. I'd spent too long tying my worth to their approval. Now I was free to create, to explore, to live without their shadows. I had no idea then, but my post was already rippling outward, reaching people who'd be at that Portland party, people who would start asking questions. I wasn't thinking about that yet. I was too busy living, truly living, for the first time in years. Sunday afternoon in Portland, the anniversary party was in full swing at a downtown restaurant. 50 guests filled the venue, their laughter mingling with the smooth notes of a live jazz band. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables dressed in white linens and flowered centerpieces. Waiters drifted through the crowd with trays of hors d'oeuvres and champagne. It was exactly the kind of event Cheryl excelled at, her theatrical flair woven into every detail. But the mood shifted when my social media post from Paris began making its rounds. Friends of friends, distant relatives, Even church members at the party saw it flash across their feeds. Images of me in Paris, radiant and carefree, stood in stark contrast to the lie Cheryl had told about it being a small family-only affair. Whispers spread through the room. A cousin nudged her husband, showing him her phone. A neighbor leaned over to ask someone, "Why isn't Wendy here?" The jazz band kept playing, but the chatter grew sharper, heavier. Mrs. Janet Ward, a 60-year-old pillar of the church community, was among the guests. Known for her sharp tongue and even sharper sense of justice, she cornered my mom, Donna, near the dessert table. "Donna Foster," she said, her voice slicing through the music, "why is your daughter in Paris while you're hosting this lavish party without her?" Heads turned. Mom stammered, her face flushing. "Oh, Janet, it's not like that," she managed, gripping her champagne flute. "Wendy is so busy with her photography. We didn't want to burden her." Mrs. Ward's eyes narrowed. "Burden her? She's your daughter. You don't exclude family from a day like this." The ripple traveled fast. Guests exchanged uneasy glances, conversations shifting in tone. Faye, my cousin, watched it all unfold. She texted me in bursts. "Wendy, your post is everywhere. People are talking. Mrs. Ward just called out your mom in front of everyone." I read the texts in my Paris hotel room, my heart racing. I hadn't meant to cause a scene. My post was about my freedom, not their party. But the truth was out now, and it was shifting the air back in Portland. Faye's next message hit harder. "It's tense here. Some guests are leaving." The band's upbeat tempo couldn't hide the growing discomfort. A family friend slipped out after murmuring to his wife about family drama. Another guest, a church acquaintance, asked Cheryl why I wasn't invited. Cheryl, ever the performer, tried to laugh it off. "Oh, you know Wendy," she said, tossing her hair. "She's always off on her own adventures." But her smile faltered as more eyes turned toward her, unconvinced. Mrs. Ward wasn't done either. She pulled my mom aside again, her voice low but cutting. "I saw Wendy's post," she said. "She's not too busy. She's hurt. What kind of family leaves out their own?" Mom's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. "It was just a mix-up," she insisted, but even she sounded unsure. Nearby guests overheard, whispers rising like a tide. The celebration meant to honor my parents' love was unraveling beneath the weight of their choices. Faye kept the updates coming. "Your brother Zachary's trying to smooth things over, but it's not working." Zachary, always the dutiful son, told a cluster of guests that I was fine and just doing my thing. But his explanation only stirred more questions. Why hadn't they invited me? Why lie about a small gathering? The party's sparkle dimmed as more people checked their phones, my Paris post spreading through local circles. I sat in my hotel room reading Faye's texts, feeling a strange mix of guilt and vindication. I hadn't set out to disrupt their night, but I wasn't sorry. For years, I'd been the one smoothing over their messes, funding their needs, absorbing their dismissals. Now my absence was louder than any confrontation I could have made. The party continued, but Faye said the energy was off. By evening, nearly a dozen guests had left early, their goodbyes quick and curt. Cheryl's perfect production was crumbling, and I was thousands of miles away, living my truth. Monday morning, the calls started one after another. I was still riding the high of my trip when my phone lit up with Mom's name. Donna's voice was tight, barely controlled. "Wendy, your post ruined everything," she snapped. "Guests left early because of you. How could you be so thoughtless?" I stared out at the Parisian rooftops, my jaw clenching. Thoughtless? I had shared joy, nothing more. "Mom, I didn't mention the party," I said evenly. "Maybe people left because they saw the truth." She gasped, then hung up. Next was Cheryl, her voice dripping with accusation. "Wendy, your little stunt turned the party into a disaster," she hissed. "Everyone was whispering about you not being there. You made Mom and Dad look awful." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "I made them look awful? Cheryl, you lied about the party being just family." She ignored that, her tone shifting to a plea. "Just take the post down, okay? For Mom and Dad." The audacity stunned me. After years of bending to her demands, she really thought I'd fold again. "Do we even know each other?" I asked, my voice ice cold. "You don't get to tell me what to do anymore." Silence. Then she hung up. Minutes later, Zachary called, his lawyerly calm making everything worse. "Wendy, you stirred up unnecessary drama," he said. "You could have just talked to us." I pictured him in his New York office, always siding with Cheryl, always preaching reason. "Talk to you." I shot back. "You all lied to me, Zachary. I'm done playing the obedient sister." He sighed like I was a client who needed firmly correcting. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he said. I hung up before he could continue. By noon, I saw Zachary's social media post. Some people thrive on drama. They choose selfies over family.
Sad.
The jab was obvious. Comments piled up, some agreeing, others defending me. "Wendy's just living her life," one friend wrote. I didn't respond. Let him paint me as the selfish drama queen. I knew the truth, and so did the people who mattered. I was still unraveling from the calls when Heidi phoned, her voice a welcome relief. "Wendy, I saw the chaos online," she said, laughing. "Your family's losing it, but you're killing it." Heidi, my anchor through everything, urged, "Don't let them drag you down. You're in Paris, living your truth. Keep going." I smiled, her words cutting through the storm. "I'm not stopping," I told her. "This is for me now." Their calls shook me, but they didn't break me. Donna's blame, Cheryl's pleading, Zachary's jabs. None of them were apologies. They were attempts to pull me back into their orbit, to make me feel small so they could feel justified. But I hadn't lied. I hadn't excluded anyone. I had spent years giving them everything: time, money, loyalty, only to be pushed aside when it suited them. Now they were scrambling because my happiness exposed their choices. Cheryl wanted the whispers to stop, not the behavior that caused them. Donna blamed me because it was easier than facing the truth. And Zachary's post was just another way to protect the family image, casting me as the villain. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. Heidi's words echoed in my mind. Keep going. She was right. I didn't need their approval to live my life. Paris was my reset, a reminder that my worth wasn't their decision. I opened my laptop and scrolled through the comments on my post. Friends, colleagues, even strangers cheered me on. Their support felt like armor against my family's accusations. I wasn't taking the post down. It wasn't revenge. It was owning my story. For the first time, I saw just how much their demands had molded me. No more. I would keep living, keep creating, keep choosing myself. Their anger was theirs to carry, not mine. A week later, the consequences were clear. Back in Portland, the fallout from my parents' party had rippled far beyond the night itself, catching my family in its wake. I was still in Paris, wrapping up my trip, when Faye texted me the latest. Cheryl had lost a major role in a regional theater production. The director, a friend of a church member who'd been at the party, had heard about her part in excluding me. Word travels fast, Faye wrote. They said Cheryl seemed untrustworthy for pulling that stunt. Her reputation, built on years of glowing reviews, took a hit. She'd always been the star, but now her actions were dimming her spotlight. Zachary wasn't faring much better. His social media jab calling me a selfish drama queen had backfired spectacularly. A colleague at Zachary's New York law firm had seen the post and flagged it to HR, citing unprofessional conduct. Faye heard from a mutual friend that he was called into a meeting with his boss, warned that his attempts to paint me as the villain were damaging the firm's image. Faye texted that he was up for a promotion, but that opportunity was now gone. I pictured Zachary, sharp suit and polished demeanor, scrambling to explain himself. His little scheme had cost him far more than he expected. Back in Eugene, Mom and Dad were feeling the sting too. Their church group, normally tight-knit, had started pulling away. Mrs. Janet Ward, the outspoken member who confronted Donna at the party, wasn't letting go. She'd shared the story with others, framing it as a betrayal of family values. At their weekly potluck, Faye said several members skipped Donna and Wesley's table, offering only curt nods. One longtime choir member told Donna directly, "You should have invited Wendy." Donna tried to brush it off with a smile, but Faye noticed her hand trembling as she served pie. Later, I was editing photos from my Paris trip when Donna called, her voice softer than before. "Wendy, can we talk?" she asked. "Maybe you could come home, and we could sort this out as a family." I stared at my laptop, the Eiffel Tower glowing on the screen. Sort out. They hadn't apologized, hadn't acknowledged the lies or the years I'd been sidelined. "Mom, I'm not ready," I said firmly but calmly. "I need to focus on my life right now." She paused, then said, "We just want things to go back to normal." But normal meant me falling back in line, giving without question. I ended the call feeling lighter than I'd expected. I turned my attention to my photography career, the one constant that had always been mine. My Paris post had already caught the eye of a local gallery owner who emailed me about a potential exhibit. I spent hours curating my portfolio, selecting shots that captured not just Paris, but my newfound sense of self. Each image, streetlights reflecting on cobblestones, a child chasing pigeons, was a step toward building a life that didn't revolve around my family's approval. Faye kept me updated on the fallout. Cheryl had called, furious, blaming me for her lost role. "She thinks you planned this," Faye texted. I hadn't. My post was about my joy, not their ruin, but I couldn't deny the satisfaction of watching their actions catch up with them. Zachary was quieter now, his social media silent after the firm's warning. Mom and Dad faced whispers at every church event, standing frayed under cold shoulders. I thought about what normal had meant for so long, me giving, taking my worth measured only by their needs. That wasn't family, it was a transaction. I wasn't angry anymore. Just clear. I didn't need their validation to thrive. My camera, my vision, my choices, they were enough. The gallery exhibit became a chance to show the world who I was, not as their daughter or sister, but as Wendy the artist. As I worked, I felt a quiet strength settle in me. Cheryl's lost role, Zachary's stalled career, my parents' social exile. They weren't my doing, but they were the natural consequences of their choices. I had spent years carrying their weight. Now I carried my own dreams, and they felt lighter than ever. 2 months later, I was thriving. Back in Portland, I signed a contract with an international travel magazine, a dream I'd tucked away for years. They wanted a series of photo essays on European cities, beginning with my Paris shots. The editor called my work vibrant, soulful, uniquely human. I spent days in my studio planning trips to Rome and Lisbon, camera ready to capture new stories. Each click of the shutter was a step into a life I'd built for myself, free from my family's shadows. I cut off all contact with Donna, Wesley, Cheryl, and Zachary. Their calls, texts, and emails, pleas, excuses, accusations, went unanswered. Donna sent a long text begging for a family meeting. I read it, then archived it. Wesley left a voicemail, heavy and imploring. I deleted it. Cheryl tried emailing, her tone a mix of charm and desperation, asking me to move past this. No reply. Zachary stayed silent, his failed social media jab now buried in the past. I blocked their numbers, not in anger, but in clarity. They'd shown me who they were, and I was done trying to fit into their version of family. My inbox was now filled with opportunities, not demands. The magazine contract was just the start. A local gallery confirmed a solo exhibit set to open in spring. Clients reached out for portrait sessions, drawn by the buzz around my Paris post. I worked late into the night editing photos, sketching ideas for new projects. My apartment, once a refuge from their endless requests, was now a creative haven filled with prints and plans for the future. Faye texted occasionally with updates from their world. Cheryl scrambled to rebuild her reputation, auditioning for smaller roles. Zachary kept his head down at work, promotion hopes dimmed. And I was finally free to live entirely on my own terms. Donna and Wesley faced strained smiles at church, their social circle still cool. I didn't revel in their struggles. I simply didn't care anymore. Their choices had consequences, and I wasn't responsible for fixing them. My focus was on my own path, one I'd paved with talent and resilience. Looking back, The lesson is clear. Choosing myself was the truest path to happiness. For years, I poured my energy into a family that took without giving, that dismissed me when it suited them.